Okay, so first I'm doing the waist to hip ratio. So we're taking a measuring tape and you're gonna go around the narrowest part of your torso. So I am, let's see, make sure it's in centimeters also, 68 centimeters here. And then we're gonna go for our hip, and that you take like the biggest part of your butt, you may say, and then bring it to your pelvis area, and that says 93. So then you also do this again. You're gonna do it twice to make sure that each measurement was within 5 centimeters of each other. So this says 67. There's the person. And then we're gonna go again, and that says about 91. Okay, so next is the anatomical position, and that's when a person is standing erect. All of your joints are extended. Your palms are facing forward down here, and then your fingers are together. Okay, so superior is when it's closer to the head. So for example, your shoulder is superior to your elbow. And then inferior is when it's closer to your feet. So same example, your elbow is inferior to your shoulder. And then anterior is toward the front of your body. So your chest or your clavicles are anterior to your backside or your spine. Posterior is towards the back of your body. So your spine is posterior to your ribs, to your front side. And then medial is when it's closer to the midline of your body. So your nose is medial to your ears. And then lateral is when it's away from the midline of your body. So your ears are lateral to your nose. Okay, so proximal, for instance, like your kneecap is closer to the point of attachment of your limb. So it's more proximal than, say, your toes, just because it's closer to your hip. And then your toes are more distal because they're farther away from the point of attachment of the limb. They're more distal than your kneecap. And then superficial is when it's closer to the surface of the body. So your skin is obviously superficial than your muscles. And then deep is when it's further from the surface of your body, so your muscles are deep compared to your skin. Okay, so there are 3 different planes. There's sagittal, transverse, and frontal. So sagittal is, just imagine this is splitting my body in half. It's when it splits between the right and the left side. And then the transverse plane is when you split the body from the top and the bottom. And then the frontal plane, that one's kind of hard, but you're basically splitting it anterior and posterior. Okay, so the first axis is medial lateral axis, which passes horizontally side to side, and it's perpendicular to the sagittal plane. So if the sagittal plane is here, it's going to run this way. And then the next one is the anter-posterior axis, which runs horizontally front to back, and it's perpendicular to the frontal plane. So since the frontal plane cuts your body in half from front to back, it's gonna go through you this way. And then the last one is supero-inferior axis, which passes up and down, and it's perpendicular to the transverse plane. So since the transverse plane is here, it's gonna cut through you straight down. Okay, so next is the center of mass, which is a point that represents the average location of a system's mass. So I guess it'd be around here, and it's also where all the cardinal planes pass through, and your gravitational pull is concentrated. So these are all movements in the sagittal plane. The first one is flexion, so this will be hip flexion. Then we have extension, then hyperextension, and then dorsiflexion of your foot, and then plantar flexion of the foot. Okay, so next are motions in the frontal plane. So first is abduction, which is away from the body, and then adduction is when you come close. Then there is elevation of the scapula, so that's when it rises up, and then depression is when it goes back down. And then eversion, so eversion of the foot would be outwards, and then inversion would be inward. And then there's deviation, so there is ulnar deviation and radial deviation. And then the last one is lateral flexion, which is flexion laterally. Next are motions in the transverse plane. So there is rotation to the left and rotation to the right. And then there's internal rotation. So if you were to internally rotate your arm, and then there's external rotation, and then there's protraction, so when you bring your shoulders up, and then retraction, and then pronation of your hands would be this way, and then supination would be when the palms are facing forward. All right, and then these last three are motions that are in multiple planes. So the first one is circumduction. So this is arm circumduction. And then there is pronation of the ankle and supination of the ankle. Pose skill is one that does not depend on the environment, or it just depends on the standard environment. So, for example, hitting a golf ball off the tee, there's not really anything it depends on except the standard environment could be maybe the weather, like the velocity of the wind. So next is an open skill, which is the opposite of a closed skill. An open skill actually does depend on the environment or the activity that you're doing, because you're going to change your movement depending on the environment or activity. So an example would be ping pong. Translation can either be in a straight line or in a curved line, and if it's in a straight line, it would be rectilinear, which would be this. And then if it were to be in a curved line, it would be curvilinear. And the next is rotation, is when a system is fixed to go around a certain point of access. So it'd be me going around this center of access. And then the last one is general motion, which is a combination of translation and rotation, just like running. For skills, the discrete skill is a movement with a definite beginning and end. So just pretend this is a full baseball bat. But when you're up to bat, start, it has a definite beginning and a definite end. So the next skill is continuous, which is a cycle of motion that has no beginning or end, like cycling. The last one is a serial skill, which just means they seem to be continuous, but it's just a combination of discrete motions, which could be like a triple jump or a cartwheel. For the kinetic chain, there's the simple kinetic chain, which means the segment, it doesn't participate in more than 2 linkages. So like, for example, your forearm, it connects to the hand and the upper arm, but that's it. Or like the hand would connect to the forearm. So no more than 2. And then for a complex kinetic chain, it would be like your torso connecting to your legs, your neck, and your shoulders. But that is when it participates in more than 2 segments. There's also the open kinetic chain, and that's when the distal segment is free to move. So, like a dumbbell curl, the distal end is free to move. And then there is the closed kinetic chain, which is when the most distal segment is stationary. So for example, a squat, my feet are my most distal end and they are stationary.